Okay, it is 7:03, that's fast. And we'll call the meeting to order for Monday, October 10th for the Jamaica Select Board. First item is to ask the board if there's any late things to add to the agenda.
Nope.
Nope, okay, good. First item is to approve the minutes of our last regular meeting, the September 26th Select Board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Tom, second, all right. Any revisions, comments, questions, changes?
I just have a couple little things. And I didn't break my notes very far. At one point, it says remove species, and it should say invasive species. Sorry, I don't remember. That was during Erica's presentation. And then a little further down, I can be more specific for Sarah, but, and then a little further down, it said Ann O'Connor, and it's just Ann Connor. She's not Ann O'Connor.
Okay, yep,
Correct. Yeah, that's it.
okay. To provide motion to,
Did you want to make it, or do you want
You can make
a motion to approve the minutes as revised by Kate Ullman's edits?
Second.
second by Kate, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes
Aye.
approved with the changes. Next item is to approve the minutes from our October 3rd special meeting. We had a quick meeting there.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting.
Second.
Okay, any additions or changes to that? Nope. All in favor of approving the October 3rd minutes, say aye.
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 All right, that's approved. And then the minutes from the September 21st road reclassification hearing. Take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 21 road reclassification meeting.
I'll second.
Seconded. And then any notes or changes to that? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from the hearing, say aye.
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 Any, that's, yeah, or any abstentions? Or any, was it unanimous? I didn't hear.
That was unanimous.
Okay, perfect, sorry. Okay. Fumbled through the administrative side of the meeting. We've got everything working, I think. Up on the agenda, Ed requested to stop in, give an update on what's going on with the fire department. Looks like we have the full fire department here pretty much.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much, yeah, for not just coming, but everything else too.
Everything else, yes.
All right, take it away, Ed, and I think you have shared, yeah, we got it.
We got it. All right, so welcome and thank you for letting us all show up here. First I'd like to tell you who we are. Dan, if you can stand up, or just raise your hand. He's our chief. Tom is our assistant chief. Greg Donna is our second assistant, and Rescue Captain Scott Gordon, who is not here. But don't fear, we have other people here. Okay, that's fine. Sean Howard is the fire captain. Dana, who's not here, is the other fire captain. He will be an EMT soon. He's almost at the last minute doing his EMT class here. Derek All is the assistant rescue captain. Lexa, who's our other EMT, is not here, but you all know Lexa. I'm Ed. Greg Lackus is over there. Nick Anthony, who's not here, and Tyler Wright, who's not here either, right? Okay. So we had a couple people show up. All right, so first talk about what the fire chief does. And the fire chief basically is responsible for everything that happens on a fire scene. Safety of everyone, coordination with other departments, all sorts of different things that happen. But basically, during the fire chief, during the fire, he's the main person that everyone listens to and everyone follows. If he says to do something, you do it. If he says not to do something, you don't do it. If he says get out, obviously, and different things like that. So that's important. And as well as getting everyone back in service, which is extremely important after you've been fighting fire for 8 hours or so, we want to make sure we can get the system back and running so we can go to the next call, which luckily doesn't happen back to back that often. One of the other biggest things that the fire chief does is has the liaison between all the other fire organizations in the area, rescue, even rescuing, Golden Cross ambulance if we ever have to do that, Londonderry ambulance, Keene Mutual Aid, which is the center that when we call 911 in this area, that's where it goes, and then they dispatch us. So that's kind of the important thing there. So again, the safety of personnel is the most important thing that the fire chief is responsible for. He, if we've been on a hose for too long, even though we're just standing with a hose, he can tell you get off of it and, don't worry about it. We'll get someone else to do that. So again, that's pretty important. All right, with the executive board, I'm the president. Dominic is the vice president, Alexa Clark, secretary, and Greg is the treasurer. We are a actual 503 nonprofit organization, so we're actually a real separate entity from the town and from anything else, which is kind of important to understand. When we do get 99.9% of our money as taxpayers, but hopefully we'll be able to work on doing something different for that. Only to get 98%. Basically, as president, I'm responsible for, or the president's responsible for executing all legal documents, obviously, as well as we represent the fire department to the select board and residents. So if anyone has any questions, it's usually the organization that handles it, which is separate from the firefighting, even though we're all the same. The same members are also part of the department, and we have different roles, as you would expect with a 12, 15-person department. The vice president is not only takes care of, if I'm hurt or whatever, then he does everything that I'm responsible. And there's more stuff. This is just the main things. But he's also vice president. They are also responsible for the community outreach, which is something new that we have started this year, last week. So that's good. Secretary reports minutes and takes care of any documentation issues, so she does that. The treasurer, which is as any organization, pretty important position, and they pretty much handle all the funds and make sure that it doesn't get leaked out somewhere. The reports, we come out on a monthly basis, and if you want us to email you one of those, we can. If you want to see it as part of your boring jobs, we can. It's just numbers, like any other numbers. But we do it at the end of the year, also for the town report. But if you want to see it on a monthly basis, we're more than happy to do that. And Greg, did you want to say any comments or anything about?
No, I just wanted to come to the meeting because I'm new on the fire department since March, and since I'm the treasurer, I thought you might want to see my face. He wanted to chase me down Main Street.
Greg replaced Bonnie as of this year. Bonnie and computers did not mix well, so Greg has been able to bring us online and bringing all of the accounts and everything digital.
Yeah, I just did the taxes this week, so if the IRS comes after me next week, you'll know I did my best.
Got that 995?
Right.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah, we do it. It was out of attitude, so it's kind of good. All right, so come the fun stuff. So 2022 has kind of been, 2021, 22 was a transition year. We have long-time people in the department, and they've all retired or moved away. So we have a complete change of leadership, pretty much. We have a new chief, new president, new treasurer. Bonnie and Dana both retired after a bunch of years. So thank God for you guys down here. Also, we wouldn't have had a fire department all these years. But anyway, so with that complete change, we have new blood. We've had revamped enthusiasm and a spirit that has been lacking for a little bit. The morale is definitely getting better. People are doing more things. Sean, for example, built a rack for the radios to solve a radio solution radio problem that we've been having forever. And he kind of solved it with building a couple of simple racks. He also cut all the trees that were blocking our view, as well as the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign that didn't work when you were at the top, because all the trees were in the way. So,
Thank you.
help out, Sean.
You're welcome.
So again, morale is improving. We've also updated our equipment and systems. As Dom was saying earlier, we've got QuickBooks, so it's much easier to do things. Greg has also set up a bunch of online payments, so we don't have to be cutting checks every month, it just happens. We're updating not updating, soon we'll be able to have more of the reporting capability from the national emergency incident systems that we've kind of lacked in doing in the last couple of years. So hopefully we'll get together and kind of teach everyone how to do it so it doesn't rely on one person to do it and becomes a bottleneck, which is kind of what's happened before. We also got new air packs as well as updated our cascade system, which is the way to fill the air in the tanks. So now with the new air packs, which are lighter, better, we can fill up with air after we use them, which is a key. And then one of the important things that we've done is, and this has been a while, but it's a spotted dog, but we've opened up a lot of the permissions for people to be able to communicate with each other through spotted dog, which is just basically, we used to carry the old pagers. We really don't need those anymore, other than mutual aid calls. But anyway, those pagers are being replaced by an app on your phone, like everything else in the world. So, and that lets us communicate between each other also, as well as, for example, right before this meeting, there was a call to Townsend to do a motor vehicle accident, and we could see exactly who's responding to it, what time they were dispatched, and when they're coming back home. So it's kind
Is
of
it radio or is it
no,
wireless?
it's an app. It's an app.
It's an app on your phone.
Yeah.
So if you don't have reception?
So, yeah.
Yeah, like everything else, we're screwed.
We still
Right.
carry the pagers.
Well, you have two options, right? If you've got wireless, if you've got internet access, and certainly in Jamaica, we have some hotspots.
Yeah.
Or you're using your cell provider, yeah.
Right. So as long as you have that, and then again, like Garrett mentioned, we still carry the pagers because there's some limitations with the system. For example, you don't get the mutual aid calls. So if Londonderry, Winhall, Wardsboro needs us, then we're kind of trouble with that. All right, so the important thing is, so far this year, we got 127 calls, and we have done all but 2. We've been able to respond to each one of those calls. There are some calls.
Is that a calendar year? Or
So far this year.
Calendar,
Yeah.
okay.
So there are some calls where we've counted, but we'll talk about that in a second. So we missed 2 calls, and both of those calls were mutual aid. And part of the problem with that was that the people that were able to respond weren't trained or authorized to drive a truck. So we kind of just sat there at the station going, okay, we're ready to go, but there's no one to drive us to the party. So again, we've taken measures into doing that. And finally, we've had 100%, in town, all of Jamaica, not just the villages. Even Rawsonville over there, which is Jamaica, not South Londonderry. We've done 100% of the calls. There is one exception where a lot of calls came to from this one address, and we were basically assisting rescuing. So our need wasn't there, but they do it as a courtesy to call us, so we sometimes don't respond to that address because there's no one can do it, or it's an easy one to not respond to. Anyway, so part of the new things that we've done, we started a new training committee, which is 3 people. Usually the training was one person responsible for it, and it was kind of overwhelming. So we were able to figure things out and start a new training committee. But it's pretty exciting because there's lots of cool things happening. We basically do 2 in-house trainings, one for rescue and one for the fire side of it. So it's kind of 2 separate different things. The monthly regional, which is the West River Training Group, which is for everyone south of us. And then there's the Tri-Mountain, which is everyone north of us. Jamaica kind of fits in this beautiful location where we're the first town of what's called 980, which is that district or that range, and then Tri-Mountain. And then 415, which is the radio frequency, which is the West River Group, which is Wardsboro all the way down. So we're lucky in the sense that we can, like everyone else, do you go to Manchester or do you go to Brattleboro? We get to do both when there's a fire call. So we belong to kind of both of those groups to get together and train better. Special certification, VESMA, which I don't know if you guys know, is the Vermont EMS Academy, which is run by, opened up October 15th, is a open house there. It's basically rescuing, has started a EMT school that teaches everything from, first aid to full advanced life support paramedics. So it's kind of a pretty new thing that we have. It's a new thing, but it's close enough.
And it's local, which is.
Right. And Drew happens to live in town, so yay. That helps for when we need to sneak someone into a class or something. So I know you can squeeze one more in. And then the Vermont Fire Academy, which is who trains the fire department firefighters, and they do all sorts of different classes from how to, not wreck your truck to other cool things, basically firefighting. And then local partnerships, something we're starting again. This is part of the chief's job is to work with other departments and kind of build some liaison and teamwork. We're going to be working with Winhall and doing dual training. They're with our equipment and us with their equipment, so we can, since we share so much of a boundary and do so many calls together, then we can work better. So, part of the other thing that is part of the training group is, or Dom, as we talked, the vice president, is the community outreach and recruitment. We've had a long discussion and figured out that if the more community outreach we do, that kind of serves for recruitment. So we've created this training group that is responsible for recognition of our department's, what's it called? Quick. Recruitment and relations, so it's triple on there. After a long hiatus, we're going to do the Halloween thing again, which we used to do. We, instead of doing it by the church like we were after 9/11, after Irene, to August 2011, we're going back to the firehouse. We're going to have a couple of fire trucks out with the lights on. Hopefully that will slow people coming down the street and kind of know that there's something going on, as well as give more exposure to the fire department, as opposed to everyone going, that's the fire department next to the church, that little white building. Right. We also have plans to do touch a truck with the school, fire prevention awareness with the school, smoke detector program, and a food event probably in the spring. May or may not include a fundraiser or just a get to know us. Susan Dahl, who happens to be related to Derek by marriage, is her father was a chief in the fire department somewhere in the world, and she, as a young girl, went to every single call and did every single thing and worked at every single event. So she has offered to help us into doing the outreach. So she's going to be working with Dom and all of us to do these things. So she found a smoke detector program that the state of Vermont offers, and instead of just passing out smoke detectors like they used to do, you basically sign up, and we as the fire department will go to people's houses and actually install it. So that's going to be a good thing. We'll kick off that program in Halloween and have a clipboard there for people to sign in. So that's kind of all the cool stuff. So everyone's really, really excited, all the department, and it's good to have like I said, some new blood that can spark things. And then finally, just as an aside, what is our, I know people always are confused about what happens during an emergency. And it's important that I think everyone knows that you have an incident command, and they're responsible for when, or either the state declares something that's an emergency like Irene, or in the sense like, for example, have a village fire where just, the cow tipped over the lamp and suddenly everyone's burning. So that's the incident command. Next to that is a safety officer and a public relation. This could be pretty much anyone in town who's been trained or works with emergency management. There's several classes you can do, so you become part of that. But the important part is that the select board is usually the finance, because guess what? You control the purse strings. And operations ends up being the fire department. That's kind of because the operations is actually who's doing it. So you have the pay, the do, the get, which is logistics, and then the coordinate, which is planning. So this is all part of the ICS system. ICS, S is for system, and part of the command. So it's important that the select board and the fire department know what our roles are, just in case something happens. And people can be multiple parts of it, right? It's not just one person that we're not lucky enough to have. So someone from the select board could also be planning logistics or public information, or the safety officer is usually a fire department person, or something like that. So multiple people can do that. So that is all we have. If you have any questions?
So, a couple things. First, two thank yous. First of all, thank you for mentioning the longtime folks who have retired. Gives us an opportunity to thank everyone who's retired and who's spent so much time and devoted so much effort to the fire department. So I'd like, on behalf of the board, I assume everybody's nodding, yes, to thank them. And then to thank you so much for coming. At least me personally, I have not been very much in touch. I've seen pretty much everybody around town. We all, we're all in the village from time to time. But to put faces to names is huge. So thank you, and I hope this isn't the last time. I think it's a great idea to share the monthly reports. We do have to every year, as you know. We're looking at other quotes boring, but not boring, bits of information. So I wouldn't want to burden you. But to the extent it's something you're pushing out anyway, I think we would all be interested. It's a big part of the budget, not something that's I personally have a major concern with, but it's kind of feels like the thing that makes sense in that context. So just a couple of first of all, great presentation. I've learned more about the fire department in the last 10 minutes than I've known. So then that's, partly my bad, but it's great. It's such a great emphasis that you're placing, I think. You mentioned a bunch of really exciting upgrades, some of which were homegrown, but some of which were not. Was that something you were able to do within budget?
Yeah, we actually had, in the last couple of years, hadn't spent all the money, so we had a little bit. The other thing we did, I forgot to mention, we bought brand new bunker gear, which is the outfits. A lot of them were,
Wow.
20-year-old equipment that, the fire service has a way of putting expiration dates on things. So even though you only wear it, 10 times in 10 years, after 10 years you gotta throw it away, which is kind of a huge thing. So that's what happens with the air packs and some of the bunker, the uniform we wear, the big heavy uniform. So we were able to use some of that, I don't want to say extra money, but unspent money that we had from previous years.
To pay for these upgrades. That's
Right.
fantastic.
The part of the problem is that because we hadn't spent all that money, it looks like we're spending a lot of money now. But the money was there, and we're being extremely careful with it. And you can look at the reports and see there's nothing. Nothing. It's not things that we're buying. Let's buy a helicopter because we need one.
Well, everything you described seemed pretty critical.
It's basically everything that needs to get us back into compliance with the National Fire Prevention Agency, which is our governing body.
Right. And do you have to is there some level of certification that has to happen periodically or not really?
In a volunteer company, in
In a
a small
volunteer.
town like this, not really.
Okay.
But we do have members that are gonna be doing the firefighter one class, which is certified through the state of Vermont.
Right. And they're gonna wanna keep you honest, right?
Yeah.
People come back from training and say, why don't we have this? Why are we, absolutely.
This other department has that. Why don't we have it?
Right. Oh, God.
So,
Yeah.
And also,
And how do you say, what can you say? I mean,
Right.
it's about fire safety.
Right. Exactly. No, you don't need that. The other thing is Don was just mentioning is all our trucks are paid off, which is a huge thing.
As of 2 months ago.
2 months ago, right? So that.
Very exciting.
So unfortunately, we always have a truck fund, just like the equipment fund that this town has. So we're always putting money into that. So in case something does happen, we either use it to repair it or replace the truck. At least a down payment. Because when you paint something red, man, it's expensive.
Well, those also fall under the compliance with the NFPA as
Right.
well too. They're always changing their guidelines and everything like that.
I've got a question.
Yes.
A couple years ago, we were looking at that cistern to bring more water or have more water stored in the village. Is anything moving forward with that, or is that kind of just been put behind?
Yeah, I think that's been put behind.
Okay.
There's a couple of resources. For example, there's like old pools in town that can be used, which would hold a lot more water than the cisterns and a lot cheaper because they're already filled.
Okay, yeah, it was an expensive solution, so.
It was,
Right.
Yeah.
And we're definitely looking into other things. The biggest thing is upgrading our different water supplies and making sure that we identify all the ponds in town, which is something that the training group is also doing as part of our training. And just really figure out which ones we can use and we can't, because the last thing you want to do is put a pump and a hose in something that's all muck and fill your truck with mud.
Right.
That,
well, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Did you say that the EMS, the train, what is the name of that, the old Riverbend building?
The old,
It's good to see that was brought around to something really important like that.
Yeah, it's great, and they got the motel next door that can house the students, because
Right.
it's gonna be pretty much a national, or at least the Northeast probably from the beginning.
And there's an open house for that, you said, or?
Yes, this
Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us know,
Yeah,
right?
I guess we weren't on the pool list. You are now.
And Paul, when he was chair of the select board, encouraged members to take the incident command system, ICS.
ICS, right?
And if you take that once, is that good forever, or do you
No, you-
take another one?
You
or-
pretty much should take it regularly, because things change and
Okay.
update it, so.
They offer refreshers for it.
It's a pretty easy thing to do.
Right.
It's a PowerPoint slide.
Well, when me and Judy took it, Lieutenant Laporte from the state police was he was a facilitator,
Mhm.
and there was these major crimes. It took us like 8 months to do the course.
Oh,
So that's how long it was. He was the facilitator.
Yeah, you can do it online now,
Okay.
and it's a lot easier.
He had to keep running away, going, leaving for murders and
Yeah.
double murders.
Obviously,
So they kept postponing the
it was in
course.
New Hampshire right now, Vermont, where they were doing all these things.
No,
The murders and stuff?
yeah.
Yeah.
Busy for.
I think it was New Hampshire.
We have a vision,
They have some.
But there was some benefit for the select board members taking that too. I don't know if it was for funding or grants or.
Okay.
Well, it's also good to have, and then that way you can look at the positions that are needed and talk to
Right.
Paul as the EMD and go,
And
hey, I'm gonna do that position.
we learned a lot, like if something happens, you do your job, and that's
Right.
it. That's what I took from it.
Yeah, everyone, usually the world tries to, everyone's sharing and collaborating and everything else when there's an emergency, or it's, you stay on your
Right.
silo and go,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
made that clear.
yeah.
That's all the training I have, so.
So,
Yeah, definitely check out mine.
yeah, so I also love the discussion of what I think of as auxiliary activities. It's something that I've, kind of wished could be in place for the fire department for a long time, having lived in communities with volunteer fire departments. Like to me, the role that your wife, I guess, it was your wife, right? Or
Don't say auxiliary to her.
Okay, well, okay, right, because she knows how much work is involved.
She's
But the fact that she's helping out on anything.
She's the director of community outreach.
Okay. Number 2 to Don. So I just love that, and really excited about, just having Halloween down at the plant is like huge, I think.
Yeah.
So,
As a final note, you all know how to get a hold of us. You know our number. 911.
And yeah, if you guys want to come to a meeting, it's, the business meetings are every third Wednesday, thank you. And training usually happens the first and fourth, or the first and last for rescue.
Wednesday.
So yeah, pretty much every Wednesday there's something going on. The second Wednesday is the West River, so
Yeah.
unless it's something that,
right.
sometimes it's in Dulles Falls, and no offense to Dulles Falls, but
So
that's a long way to go.
get there from here.
Right, so we'll end up doing our own training.
What time do they start? And are they on a
Seven.
website? Like, what, do you guys have a website?
We have a Facebook page, that's a far.
Oh, you have a Facebook page,
That's
okay.
also something
Okay.
that our.
It might be, if we don't have a link to your Facebook page on our website, that might be a good.
Okay, we can take care of that. And going back to the training, one of the things that we've done, actually Dom did it all, we trained everyone to be certified in driving the truck, so we won't be sitting there.
Oh, excellent.
That is one of the,
Congrats.
and we've done that in the last 2 months, so.
Well, thank you, thank you, really.
Nice job, thank
It's
you.
been a great visit.
So you can always listen to us, just get yourself a scanner.
All the fun?
Just that app you're talking about, you have to be a firefighter or an EMS
Yes.
person, right? Not anyone can do it.
There are other apps. Greg, do you know, you have another
Oh,
app?
I don't want it, but I just was wondering, you guys get
There
together.
are, yeah.
If you don't have a scanner, there are apps that are out there that you can get, that are scanner apps.
I had one and they took it down, but
There's a few of them now.
I know will allow you to listen.
There's one called like the fire plug or something.
There's one called Scanner Radio,
Scanner radio.
and you can listen to any fire department. There's one for KMA, which is over in Keene, which
Right.
dispatches us. There's also one for other towns in New Hampshire. You can listen all over the state. This one site will give you the ability to listen to any mutual aid in the state or the surrounding states or even in the country.
Yeah.
I saw that, all around the country.
Just out of curiosity, is 127 calls by this time of year, is that a typical number of?
I think it was higher last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
10 years ago, it was
Average.
about 100, and last year was about 160, which was our highest.
And
COVID.
usually, especially in November,
A lot more
when
people here.
second homeowners start coming in, they do their fireplaces and
They don't get it.
We're
Oh,
expecting
God.
another 25 to 30 calls before the end of the year.
Right.
There'll be medical, there'll be CO,
Chimney fires.
as well as chimney fires.
Right. Plus in COVID, we had a lot of additional full-time residents. Would you say that was part of it?
Second homes are just part of it.
Right.
yeah. Motor vehicle accidents have increased.
Mm.
Yeah, that was on the news tonight.
Oh, that accident.
Yeah, more accidents.
Yeah, well, all right, well, great, thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Come by anytime.
Yes.
Yes, please.
And likewise, you guys are invited to come see us anytime.
Looking forward to Halloween.
Got the whole thing all over there.
One request before I go.
Go ahead, hang on.
31st, or you can
Just,
do the weekend?
I have one request before I go.
On the 31st.
and hey, Paul, we're in the meeting, so it's just too much confusion, too much talking over. Greg.
Could I have a contact point for the reports? Can somebody contact me and let me know where I should send the reports every
To
month?
the treasurer here.
Okay,
And I'll, yeah,
I got this.
Ed has, yeah.
okay.
And if you haven't met Terry,
Oh, I know.
oh, you know Terry, okay. I'm like, you're both treasurers.
No, she's the treasurer. I got elected.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you very
You
much.
guys are welcome to stick around if you want, but you're welcome.
Yeah, we'd love to, but.
I know, exactly.
And there could actually be a reason why you can't be here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so glad to be face to face.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the work you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Do you want me to
Thank you.
leave this?
You can leave it, yeah.
I'm not dressed.
Yeah, thank you, Ed.
Thank you guys.
Good night. Okay. I think we'll back, next item was my item. I put this on trying to do this on a somewhat regular basis, just give an update to the public on what's going on with the roads and the road crew. One thing, as you may know, Richard is retired, been on the road crew for 7 years, I think it was. We're currently actively seeking another road crew member. We've had at least one application. Keith may have another one, but we're progressing on that. We also, our new truck that we ordered over a year ago has been delivered. It is now from the dealer to the firm over in New Hampshire that retrofits it, basically puts the plowing on and all those types of things. So we're hoping to have that within the month, which would be an awesome, great start to the winter. The crew has completed this summer's grants and aid program. We worked on a couple different roads, Dalewood and Sage Dunbar and Smith Road, which are down in East Jamaica. Both of those were basically red, so to speak, on our map of the needs assessment that is done for the local roads. we've also we've had a pretty good summer, just as far as weather events and things like that, no major little storms and things. One downside was that our excavator pretty much has been inoperable all summer due to, I think I've mentioned this before, due to some emissions control gauges on it and whatnot. I mean, it runs perfectly, but it's telling the system I can't run. So we rented one for about a month from Brown's. It wasn't a mobile unit, so we had to truck it everywhere, but Keith coordinated all that, some expense to our budget, but figured it was well worth it. And we're hoping to get another week out of it before the end of the month if the weather holds up. Approaching 30 culverts that have been replaced, and there's 5 more, or it will be 30. There's 5 more sitting there, and I basically said we don't want to have culverts sitting above ground. We don't want them underground, so we're going to rent that for another week.
Great.
And then currently they're just out there doing fall projects, mucking out a few ditches, blowing leaves off the road, getting the equipment ready, and a few other small projects trying to wrap up. But I wanted to throw it out there, what's been happening. So, and certainly feel free if there's people see things, what they need work or questions on what's going on, fire that back to me or to Keith. And we'll hopefully have another person on the road crew fairly soon too.
Can I raise
We paid for the truck, for the
Yeah.
cab and chassis anyway.
I thought it was gonna be delayed longer.
Delayed longer.
Got that?
Okay, well, it's been over a year.
I know, but I thought in a meeting earlier this year,
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
it
some of
was
these
pushed
things
out,
are
so I'm
a
glad this
little
is
hard
great
to
news.
predict.
they always take longer when, in the
Yeah.
past, they've never
come on,
By
John.
And
the
it's hard to
time
know
everything gets
exactly.
put together, it's
Right.
a
Yeah,
year.
yeah. Well, it's a year longer than what they said it was gonna
Right.
be. So, I mean, or at least, I mean, fair
But
amount.
we don't-
I lost track.
The town owns it.
Right. So.
Keep in mind, guys, see, there's still supply chain issues. I
Right.
mean, things are better, but a lot of things, even if they do get done, it's just gonna be slower. I mean, I look at my work, I buy equipment and I can't get stuff sometimes. It's not as bad as it was, but it's still a couple of months, rather than 8 months, it's now 3 months.
Yeah.
So,
And that's where these emission control valves are.
Yes.
They're somewhere stuck
Chips.
somewhere, nobody knows where they are, or if they even exist.
That section of Turkey Mountain Road that we walked over for this special meeting, any thought on that? Is that a red, yellow, or green?
It is a need for sure. It's
Alright.
not gonna happen this fall.
Okay,
That's for sure. But I mean, it's definitely a higher priority than I imagined it was.
Okay.
Been up there.
I was up there on Friday and it was worse than it was when we were there, believe it or not.
that's what led me to ask.
Okay.
You were saying, Tom.
Well, let me talk to Keith and see if we can do something that kind of
I don't-
shore it up a little bit, a major
Yeah.
fix of the roads.
I'm no expert.
It's definitely fallen
But
off.
that culvert doesn't look like it's gonna survive the winter if it's not, if something
Yeah.
isn't done. I mean, it got more exposed.
Okay, we'll go up and check it out. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely, the whole road needs some attention, for sure. I mean,
Right.
the upper part of the road.
Well, it'd be nice to avoid having to pay for another culvert, so.
Right, because you might be able to use that. And I know some work's still being done on West Hill Road, still retrofitting some of the work that was done last summer. Some ledge work, we've hired somebody out to do some blasting, not blasting, but chiseling, to
Right.
bring the ledge down so that the ditches are proper there. When it got all washed out last spring,
Right.
or last July, year ago.
A year ago.
It never really got, I mean, not that it didn't get put back correctly, but it wasn't able to be put back correctly based on all the damage that was done on the road surface taken away. So that's a few little things out there for.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Al. That's all, I just wanted to share that update, and, the next item is the discussion of the town administrator position. I'm gonna,
You got a hand on Zoom.
oh, I'm sorry, yep. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I noticed on the Jamaica website that we had adopted a new traffic and parking ordinance
Yes.
in August. And I just wanted to know if that's something that you're going to need me to enforce, and what exactly it was. I tried looking through and I didn't really find anything that was new. It looked like it was all still old.
There's several things that are new, and some of it was more of making sure that it was compliant, so to speak, as far as how it was adopted and things. Some of it was just record keeping, going back for the previous ordinance was 15, 20 years old. One primary driver was the speed limits within the town here were set at 25, and I guess in actuality they weren't enforceable because they weren't included in part of the traffic ordinance originally. There are some no parking areas that are included there. Primary one is up around Hamilton Falls. We're looking at that would be now more enforceable through the sheriff's department. I don't know, I mean, obviously we can talk more about this. I don't
We should
know
talk to him.
Yeah, we should. I think
more about what would be required or what
Right.
we could help with, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can, I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you, Rob, for raising it.
Yeah.
There are some elements of the new ordinance where, and we've talked about it, that
Mhm.
there's a procedure that can be followed, and there are certain individuals, including Rob, who have authority to enforce it.
Right, issue parking tickets as an
And issue fines, that's, you know, there are times of the year that that's a little more prevalent,
Mhm.
but it's definitely to have a discussion about which parts of the ordinance are, you know, on their face, you know.
And
There's a
probably circle the
mechanism
sheriff's-
right, where there are regulations, where there are penalties associated with non-compliance.
Right, and circle the sheriff's department back into this too,
Yeah.
have them a primary driver
Yeah.
and say, where do
They
they
have
need
that.
help, and
Exactly.
they cover a lot, and do they want
Exactly.
help, do they need help, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, not to butt in, but there's a couple spots where, especially when you turn on the Pikes Falls Road in town, where people have a tendency to park on the sidewalk and make it so it's kind of a one-lane road. During this time of the year, during the winter, it's going to be a real conundrum if they're trying to plow and people are parked on the roadway.
Exactly,
Right,
yeah.
yes, and we can't really rely on the sheriff's department for that. That is something that we could.
Well, we can, we need to rely on the sheriff's department, but then ask them where they need help, if they do. I think they're the driver on that.
Should we, I mean, instead of, I know we can talk about this, but should we talk to Rob? Or could someone talk to Rob about the new ordinance, about, you know, some of the specific things?
We don't have to call a meeting to have a.
No, I mean,
yeah.
just to fill him in, I mean, I thought he kinda knew
And probably
about
run
the
through item by
$100
item.
ticket.
Would Charlie be the person to do that? Charlie obviously wrote most of the ordinance.
No,
Would
I
he be the
think,
person that would want to have
no,
a garage, because he knows the most about it.
I think one of the select
Right.
board members should do that.
Okay,
Right,
I'm throwing it
right.
out.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Potentially, I mean, and I think it's absolutely appropriate. We need to be highly sensitive to the role of the sheriff's department versus, you know, we're not expecting townspeople to be out there like sheriffs, writing tickets and, you know, whatever, dragging people to the pokey. Being aware and being, you know, aware of the terms of the ordinance, what individuals' roles could be, even if it's just call, you know, the thing is, are you gonna call 911 because someone's car is blocking lane, which is clearly a violation of the ordinance?
I'm more,
And I don't know the answer to that. I mean,
I'm more interested in filling Rob in, that's what,
Right,
I know about the
right.
rest of it,
I
but.
was gonna say, Rob, how about you and I meet at a preliminarily and just say, okay, where are some concerns, so to speak, or where do you see opportunities, if you wanna use that word, and then I can circle back to, you know, even our attorney to say, you know, what do we need to do to make sure we're doing this right, talk to the sheriff's department, or, you know, involve Andy with that liaison aspect of it. But it's a great question.
Just for the camera, if Rob didn't say who
Yeah.
and what he does, so.
Yeah, so that sounds like a good idea. I'll circle with, back to you, like on the next week, not this coming week, but the week after. We're still down in North Carolina until, the 15th.
Yeah, and Rob is the constable for the town, just for
Yes.
the record, so every people watching this later may see Rob is our constable, so, thank you. Yeah, I'll touch base with you real quick, I'm down later in the month too, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, perfect.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, on to item number 7, discussion of the town administrator position. I'm gonna suggest that we move this to the end of the agenda and go into the executive session. Several smaller groups of the board have met with our candidate and want to just kind of convene on that. So I will move that to the end. The next item to review the timesheets for the town office, highway, and transfer station. And I will make a motion that we approve the timesheets.
I'll second that.
All in favor of approving the timesheets?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
I should ask if there was any questions on them first.
Thank you
but-
for asking the questions to Terry that you asked. because I didn't see
Right.
them. I was wondering, but
Oh,
The
okay. yeah.
emails to Terry.
Yeah, so that actually, yeah, that was on the pay order, there was a few
Yeah.
questions that came up. The pay order, Terry posts these in advance of the meeting, the questions that came up on that was the cost of the truck that we see here, our new truck, and she was gonna confirm 100%, but it was roughly in the $7,000 range over what we had estimated, so it's a big chunk of change, it's 100 grand, but that's coming out of our highway fund. And I can't remember, trying to remember, the other one was for some some upgrades, software upgrades to the tax software for mapping, that we've been in the process of doing for the past year or so. So, I'll make a motion that we review and approve this week's pay orders.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you. Any other public concerns? That's the next on the agenda. A few publics. Paul?
Yeah, real quick, from last week I mentioned I was gonna have a report for you in October. That meeting in October has been delayed to November, so I'll get back to you on the EMD stuff.
The emergency measures stuff, yeah.
We're still cooking, but there was a delay in somebody else's scheduling.
Okay, thank you.
Something
Thank you
more
for
important
staying
than
on
us.
that. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. All right, thank you guys for coming again. And I will now, somebody, Tom's always the one who reads all this, but
Mine's buried.
There it is.
So Jessica,
I can do it.
thank you.
So I move to find that premature general public knowledge of the candidate that we are considering for the position of town administrator would clearly place that individual and certain financial information at a substantial disadvantage because the select board, if it discusses this individual in public, would put that person at a disadvantage. The format is terrible.
Yes,
That's
yes,
terrible.
but you did very nice job. I second that.
All in
All in
favor?
favor of moving into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Now the next part to actually move.
I move that we enter into executive session to discuss the current candidate for the town administrator position under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes annotated. And, okay.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. And Sarah, I can take minutes for now, if we make a decision and get those out to you tomorrow. And thank you, Paul.
See you later,
And
Paul.
okay, so now we're moving into executive session. It is 7:50.
Good night. Bye, sir.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
Thank you.
It is 8:10 and we're out of executive session and no decision was made. So we will I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 8:11.